All right, you're welcome back from that short break. Here with me in the studio this morning to take a look at some of these interesting sporting gist that we have for you. Sports journalist, one who is always a delight to have right here in the studio, because you know why? He's a seasoned journalist. Yeah? Mr. Peter, good morning and welcome to Sport Talk.
Mike, it's to be with
you. Also, a Tempo via the Zoom line this morning. Tempo, come Sport Talk. Tempo, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Better, we can. All right, thanks for joining us this beautiful morning. Landscape. Meanwhile, before I come back to you, let's talk about tennis on the show this morning, because Egypt reaffirmed its status as the undisputed powerhouse of African table tennis, with a commanding performance at the 2025 ITTF African Championship in Tunis, clinching gold in both the men's and women's team events, and sweeping all three double titles in a show of continentals led by continental icon Omar Assar and Hannah Gouda. Egyptian teams were unstoppable through maintaining their dominance in a tournament that threw Africa's finest talent. In the women's team final, Egypt proved too strong for Uganda, cruising past Uganda 3-0 to retain their crown. The win marked Egypt's 18th women's team title, solidifying their performance as the most successful nation in the history of the competition. The previous triumph came dated back to 1962, which included victories in 1964, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So, Mr. Abaje, table tennis, from the look of things within the African continent, it looks as though Egypt has monopolized or they are dictating the pace right now. The likes of Nigeria, that were supposed to be a close rival, we are nowhere to be found in this year's edition of the ITTF 2025 edition. Are they doing differently that have made them to maintain this consistency?
Well, I think that before Nigeria used to be the #1 table tennis. Used to be the number tennis country on the continent of Africa. It has been between Nigeria and Egypt in the last 20, 30 years, as the case may be. You know, we've had Atlanta Musa that had a commanding space on the continent, and Toriola doing their thing. We've not had, you know, a functional replacement system where we have, you know, younger players coming to take the place of these aging players, and that is part of the problem that we have today, most especially in the male category. The #1 player in Nigeria today has been there for almost 2 decades now. Who is going to take over from him? So many years ago, we used to have multiple table tennis national championship, Grade A table tennis championship, you know, in the country. You know, but today, you know, the only avenue that these players have to showcase their skill, which maybe once in every 2 years or 3 years, as the case may be, and 1 or 2 national competition. I think if we can get potentials that we have in the country very busy with bi-monthly, you know, championship, it is going to help them sharpen their skills. Championship within the West African sub-region that is invitational, expose the players. Championship that is invitational within the continent. Expose these players. Let them be part of these multiple competitions, because the more matches you play, the more sharpen your skills become. By the time you play against these other big guys, they will have to battle it out for them to become champions. And we have to take taken to the board already. But in our own case, player. So you can how we equipment, how we are also not exposed to regular competition. So I think if we're able to put that, it is going to help Nigeria a great bridge the gap, because the rest of Africa, appears, catch up with us. Other bit, apparently we're not doing anything, in this country. We don't have a program, a locked program. All we do is crash program. Competition is just around the corner. We put athletes together, we put players together to go to camp and they go participate. There is no way you can have a commanding position if you continue to do that.
Big worry for the Table Tennis Federation of Nigeria. Time for it to be intentional, deliberate, a long time planning towards developing the game and try to replace some of the aging ones as well, so as we to maintain our status quo and possibly catch up with Tunisia, who left the African region. Daguda are doing great things. I think it's only Quadri. Aruna Quadri that will keep banking our hope upon is aging, and there is need for we to find a replacement for these aging players. Some time ago, the Lagos State Table Tennis Federation were doing a lot, local government table tennis competition. To be vigilant, because I don't hear that signs. So, all right, we are really sorry for that technical hitches, and of course we are back with you right now to continue with some of the stories that we have for you right here. Baje was saying that the aging table tennis players that we have right here need to be replaced by some younger talent. We talk about Haruna Quadri, Fatima Bello, Funko, Shonaike. These are the consistent names that have been there, just like you mentioned earlier, like a player like Haruna Quadri, almost getting to 20 representing us. What must we do in terms of a grassroots talent hunt for we to catch them young?
I've just mentioned it. We have to go back to sport. We have to seriously, the professional table tennis players that we have today, we have to use them as the face of table tennis in the country. They become the ambassadors of table tennis. Retired, they have decided to earn a living for themselves in Europe and other parts of the world. Nothing stops the Table Tennis Federation, if it's really serious, to developing the peak game in Nigeria. Get them back home for 3 months for pass to the younger ones. Also, send coaches, outside. Let them go gather some new knowledge, techniques, about the game. Because if you see the way the average Chinese table tennis player or Japanese or German table tennis player attack in his game, it's totally different from how we do. If you see the way they serve, it's different from how we serve. So some of these things is what I believe, the federation needs to take seriously, expose our coaches, and talents. They are very good. In the early 80s and mid 90s, while I was growing up in the old Bende State in Benin City, there is hardly any street that you have a table tennis board. 1, 2, 3 streets, you have a table tennis board where we pay to play. And however small money is. We pay to somebody that we call the boardman, who collects money from everybody, that wants to be part of that game. On Saturdays, you have kids go to such places from 9 a.m. That board will be busy up till about 5 p.m. in the evening. But we don't get to see such again anymore in this country. So that means the talent, is dropping by the day. But we can also rejig the system if we go back to the school system. Take table tennis to the primary school, discover these talents at the primary school level, monitor them up to the secondary school, monitor them up to the tertiary institution, and begin to expose them to big competitions, and not just in Nigeria alone. As long as we don't take these talents to invitational tournaments outside Nigeria, it is going to affect, their game, because you end up become a local champion. And that is what we have produced over the years. All local champions, because they have been restricted to just competitions within the state level or the national level. And most of these players have not been exposed to competitions outside the shores of this country, except you play up to the All Africa Games level, you do well, and you begin to catch the attention of clubs, in Europe or Asia, as the case may be. But let's start from somewhere. Start from the very beginning level and begin to the progress of that set of players. The administrators begin to monitor their progress from the age of 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 15, 16, and by the time they get to 18 to 20, they're already commanding players, in their own right. And you see them, Nigeria, before you know it, we have a commanding place once again on the continent. And before we start talking about having a commanding position, in the global rankings.
All right, away from that, a resurgent Danny Medvedev claimed his first title for 882 days with victory over Corentin Moutet in the Almaty Open final. The Russian former world number one has had a torrid year, winning just one match at the Grand Slam and suffering a meltdown at the US Open in that championship. It is Danny Medvedev's first title since 2023 Rome Masters, and the first on a hard course since March of that year. Victory also means Medvedev has won 21 titles at the age of 21 in different tournaments. So not a good season for Danny Medvedev, but then he was able to cap up the season on an impressive note. 21 trophies in 21 years. How will you describe that?
Well, apparently he's been winning one every year. So 21 and 21, good for him. But I thought that by now should be at the very top, with Novak Djokovic still coming, in between, these players, at this age. What has meant is that, yes, the talent is there, the skill is there, but experience, is perhaps what is the difference between Novak and some of these younger players. You don't have to be part of every other, championship on planet Earth. You have to, have, a detailed program, of all the ATP for the year and all the opens for the year. Which one can I possibly be part of, and which one should I just skip? But players want to be part of every other tennis open championship because of their rankings. Because if you're number one, they want to stay put at the top of that global ranking. So for me, yes, it's time for him to also go back and look at where I have missed it, where I did not prepare enough psychologically, because tennis is not just about your power, your movement on the court, your mental status is also very, very important, when you go to the court, because before you even hit the first ball, you are already a winner. Every tennis player go into the court with the mindset of winning as a winner. It doesn't matter, whether you're down in the first set, or second, as the case may be. The most important thing is the mindset with which you go into the court. So I think him and his team, they need to go back to the drawing board again. What do we need to do before the end of the year, and so that we can come back, in 2026, very, very strong.
Come back very, very strong 2026. Still talking tennis on the show. Yannick Sinner put on a near-perfect display on tennis, to beat a rival, Carlos Alcaraz, and take home the richest prize in the sports history. World number 2 defeated world number 1 6-2, 6-4 in the Six Kings Slam final in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday to earn his second victory in Saudi Arabia. A backed exhibition dominated with a flawless serve and precision ground strokes, earning a record $6 million prize money in that very one. It was a massive one for Yannick Sinner, because he was able to earn huge in that very one. That monetary prize, of course, outweighed that of a which was at $5 million. The highest pay, and we say very population to make Sinner the world number 2. All right, talk about the F1, that is Formula 1 on the show this morning, because for the first time this season, Max Verstappen openly admitted after the United States Grand Prix that winning the world is now a genuine possibility. But after a flawless weekend at the circuit of the Americas, where Verstappen claimed pole position and went on to win both the sprint and the Verstappen delivered a commanding display to earn victory over for the Red Bull side, finishing ahead of London Norris, who secured second place after a late move on Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, Norris, McLaren's teammate Oscar Piastri, a current drivers' championship leader, could only manage a 5th, as Verstappen and Norris significantly closed the point gap, fueling fresh belief that the title fight is far from over in that very one, massive one. But then let me serve you the few results of that Grand Prix the weekend. Like I told you, that Max Verstappen of Red Bull came first in that very one. In second position is London Norris of McLaren. Charles Leclerc of Ferrari, third. Fourth is Lewis Hamilton of Ferrari. Fifth, Oscar Piastri of McLaren. In sixth position, we have George Russell of Mercedes. In seventh position, we have Yuki Tsunoda of Red Bull. Nico Hülkenberg of Sauber. Eighth, Oliver Bernheim of Haas. Ninth, and in 10th position is Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin. They complete, that very. So it was a very, very impressive display from Max Verstappen over the weekend out there. We'll see how it catch up with the McLaren team with just a few races ago. Only time we tell, well, we can tell you that it was an impressive weekend for Max Verstappen. At this point, we'll take a quick break, and when we are back, we'll dive straight to the world of football, and we'll also try to re-establish contact with Temple over the Zoom. We'll be back in a jiffy.
Het is Feyenoord!
All right, so welcome back from that short break. Mr. Peter Baje is still here, and together we are bringing you up to speed with the happening sport this morning. In the first half of the show, we have, of course, Tunisia. Egypt rather continue their dominance in the table tennis events, where they won this year's edition of the ITTF 2025 with a dominant display. We also brought you a story of the gap in the championship race. Let's talk football on the show this month, starting from the CAF Champions League, because Nigeria's representative in the CAF Champions League, Remo Stars FC, lost 5-1 to Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa in the first leg of the second round of the competition. The match played on Sunday at the MKO Abiola Sport Complex in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital. Saw the South Africans dominate play from the blast of the whistle till the final whistle. Remo Stars will be hoping to overturn the deficit in the return leg to secure qualification for the group stage of the competitions. Mr. Peter, I had you giggling, while I talk at Remo Stars back to overturn it. You look as though you don't believe that there will be any comeback after a 5-1 demolition at home.
There is simply no way Remo can come back, to cancel 4-goal deficit first, then scoring, at the 5th one. Even in your dream, you don't see Remo scoring 5 goals, without conceding 3 or 4. There were no match for the South African side, and I've said it before now in different forums that, yes, the only team that we have in Nigeria today that can, make a statement on the continent is Rivers United. Unfortunately, the biggest teams we have ever paraded, in the CAF Champions League or CAF Confederations Cup in the last 20 years or thereabouts has been Eyimba, former Dolphins FC, now Rivers United Football Club. And this is because of the quality of players that they parade each time they go to the continent. 2003, when Eyimba won it, Eyimba was like, what Barcelona is in Spain today. Dolphins FC was what Real Madrid is in Spain. If you go to England, these two teams are the Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, back in the day. And unfortunately for Nigeria today, our best legs, don't stay in the league anymore. We keep exporting, our best legs, in the league, at the end of every season, mid-season. So by the time a club wins a continental ticket, they begin to search for average players in the local league and not the A players in the local league. So when you come up against a country like South Africa, where the money is good, the pay is more than okay, they keep their very best legs, even attract players from other parts of Africa and other parts of the world to come play in their local league there. The standard of the game will certainly, rise up. So for me, Remo Stars should start thinking of life in the Confederations Cup via the playoff route for a place in the group stage, because I didn't see them going past Mamelodi Sundowns even before the start of the game in Abeokuta yesterday. There was simply no match for the South African side, and there is no way they can come back and win. They don't have the stuff, they don't have the material, they don't have the wherewithal, they don't just have it.
Well, it's time for Remo Stars to start planning ahead of the second leg, if they can be able to overturn that deficit, because this is football. Anything at all is very much possible.
It's not possible. It's not possible.
Mr. Peter Baje insists that it is not possible that Remo Stars can go away from home to score 4 goals and probably the 5th one without conceding. But then, if Mamelodi Sundowns can do it away from home, Why not Remo Stars? Remo Stars is one of the best organized club side right here in the Nigerian
Oga, we are not talking about the best organized club sites in the local league. You know, what kind of players do you have?
Okay.
If you sell players to club sides in Europe,
yeah,
what kind of players do you bring into the team? Do you understand? The owner of if I would have also exploited our West African neighbors, go to the big players, you know, in the local league in Benin, go to the big players in the local league in Liberia, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone. I bring that they will be excited coming to play in Nigeria. That is how you measure up with the rest, because you're not playing the Nigeria Professional Football League or the Federations Cup. You're playing the CAF Champions League. You're playing against the very best, you know, from different leagues across the continent of Africa. You know, in the CAF Champions League, or even the CAF Confederations Cup, as the case may be. So from the goalkeeping department to the outfield players, you know, compare the players on both sides. You know, which department would you say you have a Remo Stars player better than the Mamelodi Stars Sundowns players? You know, none. So the entire starting 11 from this side are way ahead of the starting 11 on this other side. Even the players that come from the bench are also better off. So the owner of Remo Stars should learn some lessons the hard way. Yes, it is business. You want to keep the average players, put them together, they take 3-4 years, get to A level, you export them. You need to bring A-list players to your team, not only from Nigeria alone. If you really want to make a statement on the continent of Africa, when Dolphins made it to the finals of the CAF Confederations Cup in 2005, Dolphins had players from Ghana in the team. They had players from Cote d'Ivoire, fantastic players from Cote d'Ivoire. Hal Hassan in the midfield. Eyimba, when Eyimba won the CAF Champions League in 2003, 2004, Eyimba had players from Benin Republic. Eyimba had players from Ghana. These are players that were playing in their national team, in their country. How many do we have today in the Nigerian league? In their country. A player from the West African neighbors playing for a club side in Nigeria that plays for his country's national team. We don't have them anymore. But back in the day, we have players who get invitation to come play for their national team that plays either for Eyimba or for Dolphins, and at some point, Atlant FC of Owerri. So you cannot measure up against the best when you don't have the best legs, you know, in the local scene playing for you. Check out this Remo Stars team now. Maybe in another 2 years again, you might not have 5 or 6 of these players. They have gone out. You come to Rivers United, you go to Eyimba FC, the same thing. But if our players are well paid, if on a monthly basis, the average player in Rivers United, for example, goes home with 1.5 or 2 million naira, there will be this tendency for me to stay back. Anything that will take me out from Eyimba to any club side in Africa shouldn't be for 10 million or 20 million naira at the end of the month.
All right, time for Remo Stars to learn the hard way. I can tell it was a 5-1 bashing back here at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Ogun State. Not a good one for Remo Stars, but then they're on a learning curve, I guess. Maybe, just maybe, with time, they will get there. So still talking about Nigerian representative in the CAF Champions League, we can also tell you that the pride of Rivers, that is Rivers United, also lost to a slim goal margin away at home to Mozambican side, talking about Red Bull 1-0. They lost that very one. But then some would say very respectable scoreline. 0 deficit far away in New York at the Gosula Pavio International Stadium. But then let's talk about the Under-17 Women World Cup, because Nigeria began their Under-17 Women's World Cup on a poor note, losing 1-4 to Canada in their opening match on Sunday. Ingles, third place in 2022, were expected to give the Canadians a run for their money, but coach Bankole Oluwokere's girl went behind just 2 minutes into the game after a goal from Gabriel is Turkey, who Molly Hell superbly teed up. Sunday's victory means Canada leapfrog France to the Group D summit with 3 points, while Nigeria is rooted to the bottom of the table. Flamingos' next match will be against France on Wednesday before they take on Samoa on Saturday. So it wasn't a good start for the Flamingos. Building up to that game, we're just talking off camera how they had a very good preparation ahead of this year's Under-17 World Cup, where they played 12 games, scored a total number of 50 goals, conceded 6th. There was this hope and confidence ahead of that game against their opponent, but then conceded very early, 2 minutes. They had to equalize. We thought maybe they are going to do it, but they went further to concede more, 3 goals. For this team, where was the missing link after such massive preparation ahead of that game?
Well, the quality series and friendly games, most especially the last 2 that they played against Paraguay, and try to remember the country now, they conceded about 5 goals and scored about 6, Yes, the NFF did prepare these girls, very well. My excitement with these girls is the age. We're beginning to have, footballers that are within that age, bracket. So playing against their peers from other part of the world will also be, a little bit more competitive than it has been before. Yes, they considered very early, equalized before the end of the first half, so I'd expected them to come out better in the second 45 minutes. But football is like cracker biscuits. It can break from anywhere. I had a chat with the media officer of the team, Dorcas, and she said the result surprised everybody, just as you and I were surprised this morning that the girls, lost that game by that of the 1990 Nations Cup finals, when Nigeria lost to Algeria in their opening match by 5-1, and the same team also progressed to the finals to meet same Algeria, losing by 1-0. Something tells me that come Wednesday, if they can grind the results against France and grind the results again against Samoa, we might make it out from that group. And if the Flamingos eventually meet the same Canadian side somewhere in the knockout phase, should they go past the group stage, then it's going to be a different ball game. They need to put their heads together. Forget about the match against Canada yesterday. That one has come and gone. Concentrate on the remaining 2 matches. Like, these are the only games that we actually traveled down to play. These are the only 2 matches that we have to play, in this tournament to make it to the knockout phase. And I think if they can approach it with that mentality and a little bit of dotting the I's and crossing the T's here and there in the team, the Flamingos can get the desired result against France.
All right, talking about getting the desired result, we can tell you that in a match that will echo across generations, Morocco's under-20 national team surprised the world by beating Argentina 2-0 in the final of the Under-20 World Cup to clinch the title. Mr. Baje, Morocco and their meteoric rise to football in the last 2 years has been something that we need to study, especially.
It's more than 2 years. It's more than 2 years. This is a country that knows what they want, and they've gone ahead to implement their plans to achieving it.
True.
Look at their progress also in women's football. How they have come in between Nigeria and South Africa and maybe Cameroon. Before now, in women's football, it has always been Nigeria dominating the space. South Africa came in somewhere. Cameroon also came in between the mix. We had the Black Queens of Ghana coming in. But today, you cannot talk about women's football at the senior level without mentioning Morocco.
Yeah.
They were deliberate about this. And so at the under-17 level, they were also deliberate about discovering this talent, nurturing this talent up to the national team level. Look at their performance at the last World Cup finals. They made it to the semi-finals. The first Nigerian club, the first African country to make it to the semi-finals of the World Cup. Now they are now the second African team to win the FIFA Under-20 World Youth Championship after Ghana did, I think in 93 or 95. Nigeria, that used to be a dominant sport, a dominant face at under-17, under-20, where are we today? We are beginning to lose grip. We are beginning to lose touch with reality. And if you go back memory lane and look at those years that Nigeria dominated, like 1985 when Nigeria won the Kodak World Youth Championship in China, most of those players were still in secondary school. Borden Bazoye was in class 5 in my school then, Edo College. Victor Egbinobaro was in Edukpolo Grammar School. Lucky Agbonobase, the goalkeeper, was also in Edukpolo Grammar School. And players from other parts of the country. You know, they were all in the secondary school level because then the Principal's Cup, the Governor's Cup at secondary school level was big competition for us then while we were growing up. You know, but today, all those championships have died, you know. We don't have, you know, a national competition where talents at that level are spotted. If you look at in 1989, was it Saudi Arabia? 1989 Saudi Arabia. Some of these players at the under-20 level were in the university. Some were in one polytechnic or the other. You can hardly get players playing in the local league at that level, you know, playing at the age grade, you know, competitions. So what am I trying to say? There is, you know, a gap, you know, in the discovery of talent and nurturing this talent, you know, to stardom. And for the Moroccans, they have been patient. You know, they were not in a hurry to get the desired result. If it's going to take 10 years, let it take 10 years for us to be there. Because if you plan well and you take it one step at a time, you get to the top, you'll be able to sustain it. But for us, we've not been able to sustain, you know, our top performance in the last 20 years because there were openings along the line in trying to get to the top, you know, achieving results through the shortest possible means. But for these guys from Morocco, they have taken time. Facilities is everywhere. They have it scattered all over Morocco, whether it is football and other sports. So don't be surprised again tomorrow if South Africa begins to have a commanding a performance, you know, in the other ball games like handball, volleyball, basketball, and of course, you know, athletics, because they are deliberate about whatever they are doing, while administrators from other parts of the continent appears not to be deliberate.
All right, we'll say very big congratulations to the Moroccan under-20 national team. They've not just done themselves proud, but the continent of Africa, you know, is also enjoying the glory they've brought to the continent back home. I would say very big congratulations once more. But then let's
and Mike, sorry, Morocco, they defeated all the powerhouses.
True.
At under-20 level.
True.
They defeated Spain. They defeated Brazil and now Argentina in the finals. And these are the powerhouses in FIFA football at the under-20 level.
Massive achievement for the Moroccan under-20 national team. It is a deliberate and well-orchestrated plan. A 10 years sporting plan put on ground. They are beginning to reap the reward of that intentional approach towards taking sport to the next level. Where they were also, you know, they are doing great things in the world of football, both in the male and in the female category. You talk about the senior and the junior level as well. All stratas of football and sport, generally, the Moroccan are back on track, of course, keeping pace with the rest of the world in terms of sport development. Let's head straight to Europe and talk about the club of football that made a return over the weekend after the international break. In the English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur were beaten at home by Aston Villa 2-1. Liverpool were also beaten at Anfield by Manchester United 2-1. On Saturday, we saw Nottingham Forest losing at home to Chelsea 3-0, and that one was a consequential loss to coach Ange Postecoglou, who lost his position as the head coach of Nottingham Forest. Brighton and Hove Albion beat Newcastle United 2-1, while Burnley beat Leeds 2-0. Crystal Palace played a thrilling 3-3 draw against Bournemouth, while Manchester City saw off Everton 2-0. Sunderland played 2-0 against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Fulham narrowly lost to Arsenal 1-0. Mr. Peter, Arsenal, they were able to grind out the result. It doesn't matter if it is one goal or half goal, if there's anything like half goal, but then Arsenal seems to be likely winner of this season's English Premier League. I know some will say it's still too early, but you take a look at their progression and how they are taking it game after game. There is this instinct that tells me that this could be the season for Arsenal.
It's a marathon race. It is not a sprint or a dash, and 4 points separate them from the second placed team, at the moment. We need to see what Arsenal will be like, come December and January, because that is actually the best time to begin to think whether they have what it takes to go the distance. And Manchester City are beginning to find their rhythm once again. And with what we saw from Manchester United yesterday, it does mean that, hey, don't write us off yet. We can still be title contenders, going to beat Liverpool at Anfield. Chelsea also had a commanding performance against Nottingham Forest. And I think this current season in England will be more exciting than the last season. Yes, we might have a new champion in the sense that different from Manchester City and Liverpool at the end of the season. But which club will be that new champion of the EPL is what I cannot tell you now.
I can tell you that it was a big weekend result in the top 5 league across the world. But then, because of time factor, in the evening when we make a return for Sport Extraordinary, we'll do it to bring you the results of the La Liga, the Bundesliga, French Ligue 1, then and other leagues. At this point, we say maybe, just maybe, Manchester United is back to their best after going away from home to win Ruben Amorim's back-to-back victory. First time since he took charge at Manchester United in an English Premier League. It was an impressive display for him and for the team yesterday. Some other big result saw Chelsea winning away from home 3-0. Like I told you, it was a game of consequence for the coach of Nottingham Forest, Ange Postecoglou, who was sacked shortly after that defeat. Arsenal also making a giant stride and a statement of intent about what they intend to do this season. Manchester City, like you heard from Mr. Peter Baje, seems to be gradually getting back their grooves on, rediscovering their mojo. We'll see how far they can go. But at this point, this is where we drop the anchor for this morning edition of the show. Mr. Peter, your final word before we leave the studio.
All right, we expect to see Rivers United in action in the reverse fixture of the second round in the CAF Champions League, and trusting that, yes, they will get the desired goals to book the tickets to the group stage of the CAF Champions League in New York this weekend. Hopefully, Rivers United turns the table around at Uyo to get to the next round of the CAF Champions League. I did a show this morning alongside Mr. Peter Abaje. My name is Emmanuel Michael, and we're saying have a nice day ahead.